can either use your money or you can use something called OPM, other people's money, okay? And I don't know about you, but if I have an option about whether or not I would be using my money or someone else's, best believe I'll be using someone else's. What's up, everyone, and welcome to Real Talk with Olamide, where we are going to be talking about all things real estate. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Olamide, and I am a real estate investor as well as a licensed realtor. And today on Real Talk with Olamide, we are going to be talking about how do you fund your next deal, whether it's your first one or your next one. Ultimately, whether or not you have money to fund a deal is one of the biggest barriers for people when they're interested in becoming real estate investors. So today I'm going to break down not one, not three, not five, but 7 different ways that you can fund a property that you're interested in investing in. So without any further ado, let's get into it. So first, I'm going to talk about the first option, which is cash. And this is actually using your own money. And this is the only option that is going to be 100% dependent on the money that you have in your bank account or the overall assets and capital that you have access to. Ultimately, let's just say you have a $100,000 property you want to purchase and you got $100,000 in the bank, you got that cash money. But ultimately, if you have that cash in the bank account and you want to spend it, then you can go ahead and spend it. But the problem here is that a lot of people either don't have that much cash just laying around in savings or in other liquid assets. And some people might have that cash available, but they prefer not to use it because maybe they want to save up emergency funds or maybe they want to use it to do something else. So ultimately, that is the first option, but it absolutely is not an only way. So if you were thinking that you didn't want to buy a property because you don't have all of the cash in your bank account to go ahead and get your first investment property, then make sure you stay tuned and watch this video all the way through because I'm going to be talking about the other 6 ways that you can get funding, and it's more so without as much of your cash that's going to be needed. Also, make sure that you like and subscribe. So now we're going to be talking about the strategies that focus on other people's money, okay? And the first one that we're going to talk about today is traditional bank loans. And so this is actually the most popular way that people buy properties. This is a traditional bank loan. So there are a lot of different types. There are FHA loans, there are conventional loans. So not sure if you're familiar with the terms Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Those are types of conventional loans. There are VA loans, which is the veterans loan, and there's a USDA loan as well. There are multiple loan products. Ultimately, you would have to qualify for these types of loans. A lot of times these loans are going to look at items such as your credit. They're going to take a look at your income. They're going to take a look at your debt to income ratio. So how much debt do you have compared to how much income you have? They also take a look at other items. So ultimately you have to qualify in order to be able to take out these loans. And so this is absolutely a viable option for a lot of people out there. But for some people that maybe don't have the strongest credit score, that don't have a W-2, and I'm not saying that you have to have a W-2 to be able to get these loans, but generally they're just wanting to make sure that you have a steady stream of income, and they're going to be looking to see how you can prove that a lot of the time. That leads us to the next funding option, which is hard money lending. And the next 2 that I'm going to talk about are focused more on the property and not as much as the person. And what I mean by that is when you're looking to do a traditional bank loan, a lot of the times they're really looking at, okay, can this person pay me back? Traditional banks are looking to see, can this person, they're essentially investing and borrowing money to a person. But when you're doing something called hard money lending, they're looking more at the asset. Some people call it asset-based lending. So a lot of times these hard money lenders, sometimes they might ask for your credit score, but ultimately they want to make sure that this asset is a type of asset that they would want to loan their money to, so that just in case you don't end up paying them back, they have a valuable asset that they can then bring in and become an asset of the company. And so a lot of times when you work with hard money lenders, they're going to ask you about the details about the property. They want to understand, okay, what's the current value? How much money is it going to need? They're really going to, a lot of them are looking at these deals as investors almost, or they're almost having that investor view, and they want to make sure that this would be the type of property that makes sense. So a lot of them are really looking for good deals. And if it's a good deal, a lot of times you can get funding even if you don't have the best credit score. The next one is private money lending. And this is essentially an individual that has capital and they are wanting to invest, or they're willing to invest it in real estate. These don't have to be, completely experienced real estate investors. These are really just individuals that have money that they're looking to invest. And so if you have a deal, if you have a property that you're looking to purchase, you could go to someone that has cash and you can just say, hey, are you willing to fund my deal? And so a lot of these times, similar to what a bank would do, a traditional bank or a hard money lender, they will ask for something called a deed of trust if they know what they're doing. And that's like a mortgage. You're going to want to put a mortgage on your property so that if you don't pay, they are going to take your house. They are going to take your house. They are going to take your house. Back to private money lending, but ultimately they're wanting to invest. This is not community service for them. They're wanting to invest in an asset that they can get their money back. They are going to negotiate. They set up their own terms. So essentially they're becoming their own bank, and they'll let you know what types of terms that they want. Because it's not a big bank with all of these different structures and levels of approvals, a lot of times investors can negotiate and make sure that it's something that makes sense not only for the private money lender, but for the investor as well. The next two options are under the bucket of owner financing. And so we'll separate them a little bit. The first one we're going to talk about is something called seller financing. And this is when you have a seller. A lot of times the seller owns their property free and clear, and that essentially means that they have no loans on the property. Many times, if someone owns their property free and clear, they might want to sell their property, but they might not want all of the cash up front. Instead, they may say, hey, I don't need all of the cash up front. I might be able to take 10% down, $500 a month. Some people might say 0% down, $500 a month. It really depends. And that is a full negotiation between you and that seller in regards to what terms work best for you two. So that completely eliminates the need of a bank. Sometimes they ask for credit scores, sometimes they don't. It's really up to the seller, because the seller now is the bank and they determine what terms they want to sell the property for. This is one of my favorite ways of purchasing property. And then the second layer to this is something called loan assumptions. So if you've watched some of my past videos, and again, if you are a real estate investor, make sure you check out my past videos. Make sure you subscribe and like this video, because we're going to have a lot more content to come. But if you watch some of my past videos, I talk about something called subject to, which is essentially a type of a loan assumption that you essentially are taking over an existing mortgage. So I'll kind of explain that a little bit more. Let's just say Bobby Brown. I just kind of made up that name. Okay, let's say another name. Let's make it a woman. Let's say Mary wanted to sell their property, okay? Period. But anyway, let's say Mary wanted to sell her property, but she has a loan right now with Wells Fargo, and you want to maybe buy it for $60,000. So what you could say is, hey, I see that you owe Wells Fargo $50,000. So if I was to sell you the property, you're essentially only going to be getting $10,000 anyway, because that's the difference between what you owe and what your price is. So how about I just give you that $10,000 and keep that existing loan in place? And so what you would do is that you would make the payments on behalf of Mary going forward. I know that was a lot of information, but if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. In the description, there are links below, and I'd be happy to explain it and talk a little bit further in regards to what are the details and how can you intricately walk through those steps. It is more of a complex deal, and there is some risk and some exposure that you have to be aware of if you do it. And I'm not an attorney, so if you want to take if you want to buy a property with a loan assumption, I definitely would suggest that you talk to an attorney first. But it's absolutely a way. It's one of my favorite ways. It's something that I do and a lot of investors do in order to buy properties in a very creative way. Finally, we have something called partnerships, and this is when you find someone and you're essentially selling a piece of your deal to them. So let's say you found the property and there's so someone else that has funding. They have the money, you have the deal, y'all get together, you buy the deal together, whether it's both of your names on the deed or y'all create some type of special purpose vehicle like an LLC. I'm not an attorney, I'm not a entity creator. So if you are wanting to go this route, make sure you reach out to an attorney because they would be able to get you the exact type of entity structure or special purpose vehicle that you would be able to go ahead and buy that property. But that is a way that you could just partner with someone. You bring your strengths, they bring their strengths, which in this case, it's a little bit of money or a lot of money. And so in this situation, you're giving up a piece of your deal, but you're also limiting your exposure because you have no any financial risk or any financial exposure in terms of going ahead and getting this deal done. So that's a way that I see a lot of investors, whether they're new or experienced, go ahead and secure new investment properties. And so those are the 7 ways to go about doing it. I hope you learned something new. Make sure that you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that like button. I would love to chat with you more. Thank you for tuning in to Real Talk with Olamide, where we talk about all things real estate. Take care, and I'll see you soon.